Hi, and welcome to The Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinny, and on this episode, I am joined by Anypromo's social media manager, Paola Granados, a relative newcomer to promo, to discuss what it's like to do social media in a brand new industry, some of the challenges she's encountered as a social media coordinator, her favorite network, and much more. Paola, welcome to The Social Angle.
Hi, good to be here. I'm excited.
Absolutely. How are things out in California today?
It is sunny out here in California. It's great weather to be outside and working from home, so I can enjoy that a little bit. And yeah, everything's good here.
Yeah, I'm envious. It's chilly. It's not too cold. It's raining. We have snow from last week that is now disappearing because the rain and the warmer weather. It's just nasty. I'm glad I'm inside today. I feel bad for you. I'm keeping you inside today for this podcast, but I'm glad that we have this chance to talk. We have a great topic. So before we get into the topic, can you give us a little bit about your background, introduce yourself, how long you've been with Anypromo, and how long you've been doing social media?
Alrighty. So I have been with Anypromo for a little less than 6 months. But yeah, a relatively short time. I am a newcomer to the company. How long have I been working with social media? Well, I can say that I have been on social media for a pretty long time, but I only officially started working more professionally on social media for maybe, I want to say like 3 years. I did some work in school, helping manage and coordinate social media. In my previous job, I also helped run the social media account for the retail store. And then I am running this account now fully with many different platforms to kind of like focus on. So yeah, I guess it's been like 3 years if I really think about it. I forgot about the time, the work I did in college, but it all counts, right? It's all contributing to the knowledge of social media management.
Definitely. And, the younger generation like yourself, they grow up with social media. I didn't grow up with social media. So I asked this question of, older people, who are doing great things on social media, and, their answers are usually different. They didn't grow up with it. They learned it as part of their business, and they embrace it. But, you have the good fortune of growing up and using social media. Like, I have a daughter who's 14 years old. She is using social media, and she's going to have that advantage when she gets into the business world, of understanding the technology and having, those benefits. So, we mentioned that you're a newbie to the promotional products industry. I think at some point we're all newbies to this industry. I was 15 years ago when I started back at ASI. So let me ask you, what attracted you to the position at Anypromo, and what are your impressions of the promo industry after 6 months?
All right. What attracted me to the promo industry? Well, I don't think I was necessarily attracted to the industry. I don't really feel like I was really cognizant of it. But what attracted me to the job was just an opportunity to really focus in and narrow in on social media and what makes it run. It's funny that you say that it's a huge benefit growing up with social media, because I think it's a double-edged sword. And I wouldn't have considered myself like a big social media user before I started working with it professionally, because I just saw like all just like the mental things that were happening to it, just me using an account personally, right? And I was young. I was very young. I think when I first got my account, I was at junior high or early high school. When I first got my social media account and I started like posting pictures, probably my first year of university. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but you have to like using it as a tool. I feel like is what we have to learn how to do, and also taking constructive breaks from it is also really helpful. So what have I learned about the promo industry so far? A lot of things. So my second day on the job, I think we ended up going to a trade show. So I got to meet vendors. I came home with like a bag full of samples. I was very excited. Everyone in my family got something. It was an exciting experience. I also learned that this industry is very connection based. So people that making, creating relationships, and just people genuinely want to do good, right? Not only make beautiful products and contribute to like a beautiful marketing campaign or something greater, but people are also trying to do good for the environment, which coming from I studied environmentalism in college. Coming from that, I was a little bit cynical and thinking like, oh, people don't really want to do anything about this. But I've definitely changed my mind about that completely. And I see that so many people are really, really dedicated to making a difference and to doing better in the world. And even if it's like in their industry, and I think that's great, because sometimes people want to just like save the world and like do everything, but really you have to really niche down and make little changes. And that's what makes a difference, right? Because if everyone is like focusing on making little changes in the places that they are, then they can make a bigger difference together instead of one person just trying to do everything and trying to micromanage, other facets of their life.
So so when you first came into this industry, you took the job because it was a social media job, correct?
Yes.
But when 6 months down the line, now that you've been in the industry that long, you see a lot of good things happening, correct? Like you're seeing there's dedication to sustainability. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, whereas when I came into the industry 15 years ago, there wasn't so much of a mindset for sustainability. When I first started, it was the impression of this industry was wasteful, stuff ended up in landfill. But I have seen a huge change in our industry in the last decade, where there's a lot of emphasis on moving towards sustainable products. And, there are a lot of great people in this industry who are really pushing that. So that's your impression of our industry after 6 months, is that we're pushing that more?
Yeah, I see it. I see that people are really devoted to, switching people over to more eco-friendly products, informing people on making more quality investments in their items that last longer. I also see like a narrative shift in like, instead of just slapping a logo on something, making an item that's like custom that people will want to interact with your brand, right? I attended a SKUCon conference, or I tuned in because it was online. But I just heard some really inspiring words about people, wanting to take the promo industry a little bit further and just like calling it merch more than just like promo, right?
Right.
You buy merch like band merch, and it's like Kanye West and Rihanna, and they all have this like high quality merch. And really, the only difference between the stuff that in the promotional items is the graphics that they make, or the story behind it. So they really focused on storytelling, which I think is so important, especially when it comes to our industry and changing the way that the value of something and the way it's perceived.
Absolutely. We chatted a little bit yesterday offline, and, I couldn't agree more with you. Create an experience that is worthy to the end user of the product, make them want to keep it, make it a quality item, make it meaningful, and you're going to have people who are going to hold on to these products a lot longer. And I think there's really been a big push toward that in this industry, and it's exciting. It's something that I like to see younger people come into this industry who have that mindset, like you have, where you're passionate about the environment, you're passionate about the life cycle of a product. Where did it start? Where is it going to end? And we need more of that in this industry. So let me also ask you about the challenges, and this can be a challenging industry. I've been in it for 15 years, and there are days when I'm like, wow, like I'm confused about certain things. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your first 6 months in the industry, and how have you overcome some of those?
Well, I think we're still, so I see the people inside the industry really have shifted their mindset to higher quality items, eco-friendly, like this is being a shift that's inside, but I feel like people outside still have that stigma. And so I think that's the biggest barrier when it comes to social media, because we're really trying to break out of the kind of like faceless corporate sort of business type model, and we're giving ourselves a face, we're giving ourselves, we're speaking up for ourselves instead of other people kind of like chiming in on and telling a story about promo that's just like cheap and low quality and bad for the environment. We're kind of rewriting that narrative, but we still kind of have to confront that people are going to have that stigma of what we sell and are perhaps not going to feel like, you know, engage with it, engage with our with you know what we offer. And so I think that's probably even the biggest you know, barrier that I still have to face with social media. You know, making content that people will use and actually is relevant to their brand. I've recently started to pivot some. I mean, I've just started, but I'm really just trying things at work. And one thing that I've started to try to do is provide like marketing insights on like the trends that are going on, looking at pop culture, looking at the gaming industry, like looking at things that are from other industries, but they all kind of like mesh into storytelling and branding in some way. And there's so many ways that we as the promotional marketing industry interact with them, or we can interact with them, right? So yeah, bringing in relevant topics that people are interested in, and then still fighting that stigma of not just being like cheap, you know, fast and bad for the environment items.
Yeah, those totally. I mean, when I first started in this industry, and you know, I'll kind of touch upon some of my challenges. We didn't have education at ASI. ASI now provides robust education for any new employees, especially those who come into the industry who have no idea about the industry. So I didn't have that luxury in 2007 when I started. So I had to really learn the industry on my own, you know, and it's a B2B industry, and I didn't come from B2B. So the whole mindset was challenging. And when I started doing social media, it was hard to understand what the user of our social media was looking for. So it was a lot of trial and error for me. You know, in time, I've fine-tuned what ASI users and social media are looking for. But understanding, having that learning curve in this industry was challenging for me because I had to sort of sink or swim, and there weren't really many resources available for me to do that. So what about yourself in terms of educating yourself? What are you doing to learn this industry? Has Anypromo provided you any resources? Are you looking for resources online?
Yeah, so I'm constantly getting like resource material from my team and my manager that I work with. Quick shout out to them because I know they'd like a little shout out. But my marketing team is great. We all work in different segments of marketing. Like there's Aris in SEO, Isaiah does like paid ads, and Jonathan does email. So every month we have like a recap, and we kind of like, that is an opportunity for us to be educated on the parts of the industry or marketing that we are unfamiliar with. But for me, I'm a big like audio learner. So if I have a question about something, like recently we came up to the topic of ABM, account-based marketing. And that's something that we were trying to really learn about more, or me, because I hadn't really heard about that term and that strategy yet. So I listen to podcasts, I read articles. I just try to immerse myself in a way that I feel like is manageable. But yeah, I do a lot of just bouncing around. Like I said, I love podcasts. So sometimes the podcast that I already listen to, like I listen to a podcast called Business of Fashion. And I think that helps with becoming literate on what's happening in the fashion world. Merch items are actually really trendy. So you could see brands like Thrasher or brands like Supreme, like it's very kind of merch-like items. It's very simple logo, but the way that they market it, the story that they tell is very unique, and that's how they package it and create this hype around it. and just learning about what what other companies do and how their merch campaigns have been successful. Like Panera did a swim soup collection where they did merch kind of showcasing like soups in the summer.
Yep.
You didn't think that soups would sell in the summer, but apparently they collected survey like customer data, and they do. And so like learning from, campaigns that have done well, learning from like outside this industry and looking at like, fashion, pop culture, stuff like that. All those are like educational materials in addition to the materials that are shared within my marketing group and within the office.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I
Yeah,
couldn't agree more with looking at what other companies are doing, especially, you look at B2C companies and the bigger brands to see what they're doing and to learn what they're doing on social media and what they're successful at, and trying new things and experimenting. I think the best thing about being a social media manager in this industry is that just by doing, you're going to learn and you're going to get that experience. Whether or not what you do is successful or not, you're still going to learn. You're going to get that intel that's going to tell you, okay, this didn't work, this worked. I always encourage, keep trying new things. Even if you've done things, and then in 15 years of doing this, I have some great experiences and I have some horror stories. Like I can probably talk for 30 minutes about some of the mistakes I've made, and where I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And it's those situations that you learn from, and that you're able to fine tune your social media strategy plan. So to me, I think that as long as you're willing to learn, you understand the industry, and you take chances, and I'm not talking about huge risk, I'm talking about keep experimenting, keep trying new things, you're going to be successful. You're going to eventually figure out what it is your users are interested in, and eventually you're going to have a really good social media strategy plan in place. Now I got to ask you about your social media game. You're doing some really good things. I noticed you first on TikTok, and then I started to follow Anypromo on the other networks. And what I like about what you're doing is you're adding yourself into the narrative. You're adding Paula into the narrative of Anypromo. Was it difficult to get in front of the camera for the first time when you did that?
absolutely. Absolutely. I as much as I am a digital native growing up with social media, I think that I can personally say that I am quite camera shy and nervous about, appearing in front of the camera. Also because, social media is like the Wild West. Anybody can say anything. And also TikTok is, because I have it on my phone and I do a lot of video like on my personal phone, it also connects to your contacts. So you're just like, oh no, like the anxiety starts running in your head. Like my sisters are gonna see this, my family's gonna see this, like what are they gonna say? And so after getting over that, like pretty significant mental mental obstacle barrier, because that's what it is, it's just in your mind. You can kind of just like get creative, have fun with it. Even like I said, once I started applying the stuff that I was already listening to and putting it into the media that I was making, like I was already looking up what the Instagram trends were. I was curious about it. I was already looking at like what people in the fashion industry were saying about the 2022 trends. Like these are things that I was already doing. I was already interested in it. So once I started to kind of like see where my interest and my job kind of like collided, I was able to make content that didn't feel like I was forcing it so much. And so that's something that has been a little bit of a game changer. And I'm still kind of like finding the fine tuning this strategy, but I think that's kind of where I'm going to find the most success. Kind of finding that intersection, that sweet spot, and showing like what my company is doing. Anypromo has really shocked me in the way that they focus on like us as the employees. I recently joined something that we have is called culture committee, where we focus on like hosting events and helping us, that helps boost morale and make the office a beautiful space. So I like to document that. Like we made a whole like Valentine's Day decoration for the front office because we noticed that when we did it for Christmas, we loved walking into the office. And when we took all the decorations down in January, we're just like, this place looks sad. It looks like a medical hospital. Like even if it's just a little thing, it's like things that make you like happy, and colors. There's like color theory, like color psychology, that some colors just make you
Sure.
happy. So there's lots of pink in the office right now, and I love it. I loved decorating. I loved, using that kind of creative space, and making a room beautiful. I think that's important. Even maybe it doesn't make any like logical sense. I think there is a lot of rationale behind it.
So you touched upon a lot there, and you kind of
Yes, we
segued
did.
into no, that's totally cool. I like to listen to people. They say, "Oh, I'm rambling." I'm like, this is great content. So you kind of segued into the next question, but I wanted to go back to my previous question about being in front of the camera for the first time. Now, I was like you. My concern was I'm going to be judged. I'm nervous to get in front of the camera. I knew I had to do it eventually. I knew I had to kind of put my face to the name that I've been putting out there. And I was worried about the feedback. I was worried about being judged, trolls. And I will say this, as long as I've been doing this, I haven't had too many problems where people, would call me out on anything. And that to me, and you touched upon it perfectly. You said, as long as you know what you're talking about and that you have a grasp on what you're talking about, the video and the camera and your mindset will all work well together. As long as you know what you're talking about, it should be just like having a normal conversation with somebody. Now, what advice would you give to somebody who's still apprehensive to get in front of that camera to do any type of video for social media?
That's a good question. I would say try to bring in what you know well. So I know that you just said as long as you know what you know well, like you should be okay, right? The other is just extra. But I really would say, like, being a kind of a newcomer into the industry, I didn't necessarily feel like I knew the industry well, like, and so I felt like I had a little bit of imposter syndrome too
Mm-hmm.
to
100%.
overcome. And so I had to bring in things that I knew well, like, stuff about pop culture, things that I interact with all the time. And then making those connections helped me feel more secure about what I was talking about. Also, kind of getting others involved in my office was really helpful because I didn't feel like alone in this. Like I was like the face of the company. That's a little bit intimidating.
Sure thing.
So, having there be more faces on camera, doing something that I have planned is like just doing like little question Q&As with my coworkers to kind of, give them a little break from whatever they're doing. Cause sometimes they get off customer calls and they're just like so exhausted, so
Sure.
done with it. And just having those like moments of relief that we get to capture, or if I can capture them on camera, that's something I would love to do. But yeah, I would advise just if you don't feel confident, if you have that kind of imposter syndrome in the back of your mind, like I did, try to bring in topics that you know well to use it as like an analogy or a metaphor, an anecdote. Bring those kind of elements in, and you should feel a little bit better about what you're saying. And also ask questions, like pose it as a question, so it's not like you're starting a conversation rather than like saying like this is fact, this is how things are.
Yeah, I love a lot about what you said. Imposter syndrome is a huge topic, and I've talked to many people about this when they come into the industry, or even if they've been in the industry a long time, 30 years, 40 years for some people, and they start doing social media for the first time, they feel like they're not worthy of doing it. It's like, oh, this is social media. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You've got 30 years of promo industry experience. You absolutely know what you're talking about. Just use social media as the vehicle to get your message out. And I think that, that kind of, disarms a lot of people, and, they feel a little bit more comfortable. So the second part of what we were getting into earlier was, something I want to touch upon right now. So what are some of the creative ways, and you touched upon it a little bit with culture, that you and your company are using social media?
Some of the creative ways we're using it. Well, we're documenting a lot of our kind of life in the office. I think that's a creative thing that we're starting to do a lot more of. Like I said, I just joined the culture committee, so I am a lot more involved in like how these events happen and being on like the decorating committee or coming up with ideas of things that we can do. Upcoming, we have like a family feud type style. So that's something we're going
Oh,
to
that's
document.
fun.
That's something we're going to document. That's something we're going to put on our social media just to show like people like we're real people. And I think that will eventually convey like, and we really care about like our customers. It's not just, we're e-commerce. So I think we have to emphasize that a lot more. Like people can't just come in. It's not like a brick and mortar store.
Sure.
And businesses are getting a lot more personal because a lot of new businesses, small businesses, they're born on social media and digital first, right? They have to, get a good bearings on that. And so with that in mind, we have to kind of reach them where they are too. We have to kind of meet them where they are, and we don't like sell to a business, we're also selling to like an individual.
Sure.
So in many ways, it's very much like B2C. So B2B perhaps is becoming the line between B2C and B2B.
Right.
Becoming a lot more blurry with social media and the way that it's like very, face front first and very personal, like the way that we see ads now too on TikTok. It's like people are showing you an item, how they use it, how they, they style it, if it's a piece of clothing. And it's so personal, you forget that it's an ad. And I think that's the trick. So yeah, we're just trying to show up a little bit more and show, anybody, audience anywhere, that we're real people. And that we like to have fun and we like to put events together and I think that that's a way that we stay creative and that we keep up morale too. So it's like
I agree 100%. And culture is something that I've preached for years now on the podcast, on social media. Just, hey, look, showcase the people behind the scenes that make your company tick. There are a lot of clients who know the logo. They know your logo, they know your brand, but do they really know who's behind the brand? Once they see who is behind the brand and the people that are just like the clients, there's a connection that's made. There's a human element there. Show off your employees. That is a huge selling point to social media. And I also noticed that you use humor as well in a lot of what you do. Can you touch upon that a little bit?
Well, my coworkers are generally funny people. We have people that are just strong characters, and I feel like the world needs to see them. Like they really make the day better in the office. I think who just top of mind, I think Gabby on our new Omega team is really funny. I interviewed her for a TikTok. She was like talking to an elf, and just the way that she responds to it and she plays along with the video is amazing. Jonathan was the previous face of the TikTok, and he's super goofy. He's always making us in the marketing department laugh, and like in a way that's not very like taking advantage of it, but just capitalizing on that humor and showing that like that lightheartedness. It's really important because business can be serious, but also business should be fun. Otherwise, promo is innately fun because it's all about like, building meaningful connections and creating an event that's like worth remembering, right?
Right.
So it's like promo is something that makes businesses and events fun. And so we really need to show that even in our own life and in our own office life, like this is important, like having fun and being lighthearted and, doing goofy things like interviewing an elf or doing an elf scavenger hunt. That was actually one of our most popular videos so far. And yeah, so just showing that lightheartedness that we in the office do like naturally or, plan.
Yeah, I always mention humor to a lot of people, and they say, well, why humor? What about it is resonating with users? And I always say a lot of people go to social media to get away from business. They don't want anything to do with promo when they go to social media. They want to see something that's going to take their mind off of their work. And if they see a business sell, they're going to just glaze right over it. They don't care. They don't want to see that in social media. Nobody wants to see that in social media. But when they see something that's culture-based, it's funny, they're going to stop and they're going to watch, they're going to read, they're going to be intrigued, and they're going to remember your business. And I can't stress that enough. When you're doing things like you're doing with Anypromo, you're having fun with social media, you're showing off the culture, that is going to go so far for your brand. I mean, it's going far for your brand. You're on a podcast today because of what you guys are doing on social media. Now, I see so many businesses in this industry that are still doing what they've been doing for years, and that's trying to sell on social media, trying to sell. I mean, you can sell on social media, just not the way they're hard selling. You know, it's like, here, buy, here are my prices. This doesn't work. And I've always preached, I say, you can't do anything on social media with that mindset. So with that said, and you mentioned it just a minute ago about a TikTok that you got a huge number of hits on. It got, I think, almost 67,000 hits. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that TikTok and why you think it went viral?
Yeah, I can speak about it. So this was during the holiday season. Holidays can be a little stressful for everybody in the office. So the culture committee put together a scavenger hunt. This seems to be a tradition with the elf on the shelf figure. That's like a popular little wolf.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we basically had like a office-wide search for this elf because it had been a couple hours and nobody had found it. Everybody in the office at one point just got up and they looked for it. And I think in the video, it just captures like everybody cornering our HR, Maria. And there's just like, where is the elf? As it like kind of just in a very serious, but also just like completely frustrated trying to find this elf. And that's probably the best part of it. They're taking it seriously, which, yeah, it's like we really do take our work seriously. We take our fun seriously.
So why do you think it went viral?
I think it's just, I'm not sure really. It has to be a combination of the elf on the shelf, which is popular.
It was timely. It was
timely, yes. And I just think like all the people in the video also just make it like a bigger deal. Like it makes it like something is happening, and people, when they kind of notice that like frustration or like help us find this, or it like we engage the TikTok viewer. So I think that was part of it. It's just like I think at the end of the video, it's just like we're so like we don't know where it is, like we need help. And so people in the comments were just like, I bet it's here. I bet it's
here. Okay. So it started to drive through the comments. See, and that's another thing about, and we laugh about it as social media people. It's like when you have a manager who doesn't understand social media and they say, hey, make it go viral. There's no secret ingredient on making something go viral. It just happens. And sometimes you just sit there and someone asks how to go viral. You're just like, I don't know. It's just one of those magical things. So who found the elf?
It was Gabby. Gabby found the elf.
That's awesome.
In the vending machine, far back in the corner. And it was funny because Maria said like so many of you guys just literally walked
right past it. Yeah.
I've never looked inside of the vending machine. I looked on top. I looked at the bottom.
Oh wow.
Anyways, it was a fun time, and it was so spontaneous, like you said. I didn't plan this. I wanted to capture it, but I didn't really have a strategic plan on how I was going to capture this scavenger event. I just kind of captured what was happening, and it was very organic kind of video. Whereas the other ones, like there's more planning, there's like a little bit of scripting, some researching. It's a little bit more work, but you know.
So the lesson here is the ones that you put the least amount of effort into have the greatest chance of going viral. I think that's that's the secret sauce to going viral. And it happens to me too. There are things that I post where I don't even think twice about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that did really well. Well, of course, I didn't put any effort into it. The ones that I put all the effort into, the TikToks that I take time producing, I'm just like, 200 hits. And I'm like, okay, I put 2 hours into that. Like, it only got, 200 hits. So to me, I feel like that's part of the experimentation. You got to just keep trying and just keep having fun and enjoy it.
It's really an exercise of patience, and also of like letting go of whatever kind of restrictions you might have. It's like, try everything, be creative, film things that you think are funny, even if you don't really feel like they're going to go anywhere. So yeah, it encourages you, especially TikTok, which is really like all over the place, I think.
Definitely.
It's really like that. It's very tempestuous.
Yeah, I agree. I
So,
agree. You can never predict what's going to happen in social media.
yeah,
And I think that's, if there's one fact about social media, is it's always going to be unpredictable. And that's something I've learned in doing this over a decade. So I got a few more questions for you. And again, thank you for, spending your time with me this afternoon. But so for anybody who is new to this industry and they're doing what you're doing, basically coming in as a social media manager, what is a hot piece of advice that you can give them when they first start out?
Yeah, I would say take some time exploring what's on social media and what's working for other creators and other businesses. This is something that I did in the beginning. Well, not in the super beginning, but after a couple of months of dipping my toes in the water, I started following other like brands and like B2B brands more specifically, but brands in general, like bigger brands like Canva is on TikTok, and seeing what kind of content they were putting out there, who they were following, and just kind of getting a lay of the land, basically. That's what I did. I also looked at how people spoke and how they were able to make such short videos. So yeah, I would say kind of get a lay of the social media space. Try to narrow in on a niche, but don't narrow yourself don't like pigeonhole yourself, but definitely
Sure.
try to narrow in a niche. Try to find your spot somewhere where you can like have authority in what you're saying, credible source, and then just literally just have fun, be lighthearted, capture moments that show your company's personality. If somebody is running like another business's social media, they'll probably be the face of the company, but I would suggest giving their different faces, because having one personality for a whole business it's just not the reality, right? A business is made of so many different personalities.
Sure.
They all contribute to what the company persona is, and so I feel like showing that reality and doing your best to kind of exhibit that in a nice way, in a way that's authentic and genuine, I think is a good place to start.
Absolutely. That's great advice, Paula. So I have to end my podcast with a final fun question. I could ask you one of 100 questions, but I'm going to ask you this one. So what's your favorite social media for business and why?
That is a great question. I feel like the right answer is probably LinkedIn, but I think my genuine answer is probably Instagram or TikTok.
Okay.
I think things are changing a lot, and maybe I'd be a little bit more inclined to say TikTok, even though this is probably what nobody says. But I think that the format is it's very easy to follow, and I also see that TikTok is growing in a lot of ways that some of the other platforms aren't. It's easy to have conversations. They're talking about making TikTok like more storefront friendly, so you can actually buy things on TikTok, which I think is going to be very different. It's going to change a lot of things in the market. Sure. And I think you can use the videos for so many other things. So you can use video collateral for ads. You can use video collateral on YouTube, which also I think is a good platform to be on, especially if you're already making video. Just add it to YouTube Shorts. So yeah, I would say probably Instagram. It's a good place to be. It has the reels and it has like the posts. You can do lives as well. So
sure.
Somewhere, I know that's a very old answer.
Yeah.
I think I would pick Instagram and TikTok as my favorite for businesses, because it's a way to be really up and close with your audience and your clients. But maybe intuitive or not intuitively, the right answer is LinkedIn, but maybe not for me.
Well, it's funny because 6 months ago, I was never on TikTok and now I'm addicted to it. And I will admit, that I spend so much time on it every day, and it's just addicting, and you just scroll through, and it's not like any other network I've ever been on, because the addiction quotient there is so huge, because you scroll to the next one, and you're, oh my God, like, and you can't stop watching, and you can't stop watching. And to me, I've always been a Twitter person. I love it for business, but I will say that TikTok, as more and more people get onto TikTok, more and more people in our industry are getting onto it. They're going to start seeing the advantages of being on that network, especially from the perspective that it captures eyeballs, and it captures them for a very long time. You know, I talk to people who are my age. I know the young kids are on TikTok, but I talk to people that are older, you know, Gen X, and they're all the same way. They're like, oh my God, like TikTok is blowing my mind. So, you know, this industry is catching up. We're starting to see a lot more people jump onto TikTok, but also this industry they're very, very bullish on Instagram as well. This industry loves Instagram. Everyone's on Facebook. They have to be on Facebook. They don't like it. They have to be on it. But I'm telling you something, Instagram, TikTok, those are the networks that people should be really kind of focusing in on. That's what I would do if I was new in this industry, for sure.
I think TikTok especially, like, it helps you with so many skills, like learning how to not sell something, but how to say something quickly, because you only have, you know, it's like an elevator pitch. You only have a couple minutes to grab someone's attention. So it puts that into practice every time you make a TikTok, how to hook people in, how to, you know, show authenticity in your voice, and even some simple things about video, and how to, you know, look presentable in front of your videos. You know, how to get your, for me, it's like, how do I get my other coworkers to engage in a video and be lively and feel comfortable in front of a camera? Like, that's also important to do. So it's like all these little extra skills that you have to learn in terms of like TikTok and doing video. Whereas before it was just like take a picture, post it, add a caption, but now it's a lot more involved. Like, you really have to learn how to communicate with people, present your business or whatever you're talking about in a way that's confident, in a way that's relevant. And that's a lot more intricate, I think.
Right. Well, Paula, thank you so much for your time today. You've been a great guest. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Well, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram. We're under Anypromo, under both. You can reach me email too. I'm paula@anypromo.com if anyone has any questions or anything like that. But yeah, we're on all the platforms right now. We even just started Pinterest, which should be a fun adventure in exploring.
All right. Well, Paula, thank you so much, and good luck with everything that you do in the future.
All right. Thank you, Vinny. Have a good one.
We'll see you next time on The Social Angle.